The luminous projections pulsed across the vast, obsidian table, casting an ethereal glow upon the faces of the assembled delegates. It was not a table in the traditional sense, but a shimmering plane of interwoven light and matter, responsive to thought, a window into the fractured reality beyond the council chambers. Here, within the grand conclave of the Zalosian hegemony, beneath the crystalline spires that pierced the perpetual twilight of Xylo's prime, the fate of uncounted systems was weighed. High Elder T.A. Chanier, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the swirling chaos of the projected data streams, extended a digit, causing a particularly alarming cluster of readings to swell and solidify into a stark crimson warning. "Observe!" His voice resonated, a low thrumming vibration that permeated the very bones of the chamber. "The anomalous energy signatures, they persist, they propagate, and they defy all known classification within the galactic census of sentient species. This humanity, it remains an enigma wrapped in an impossibility." Across from him, Ambassador Vylra, a being of liquid chrome and intricate neural pathways, shifted, her form subtly rippling as her internal processors calibrated. "Enigma is an understatement, High Elder. Our deep space probes, deployed with the utmost stealth and discretion, report an alarming rate of technological advancement, a trajectory unparalleled in the historical records of emerging civilizations. And yet their spatial footprint remains negligible, confined to a single unremarkable star system. A paradox." Her voice, a synthesized whisper, carried an undercurrent of unease. "Their initial forays into the galactic sphere were primitive. A few sublight probes, a scattering of radio transmissions. We categorized them as per protocol as a Type 0.7 civilization. A curiosity, a potential candidate for eventual integration, perhaps. We even extended assistance." A low, resonant murmur rippled through the assembled beings. The term assistance was a euphemism understood by all. It referred to the intentional, subtle dissemination of discarded, obsolete technologies, scraps, as the more cynical termed them, designed to guide nascent species along a predetermined evolutionary path, to observe their assimilation patterns, and to ensure their development remained within acceptable parameters, preventing unforeseen disruptions to the galactic order. It was a well-established, ethical, and purportedly benevolent practice. High Elder T.A. Chanier's gaze, momentarily unfocused, returned to the projections. "Indeed, we gave them scraps. The discarded propulsion systems of a Zalosian explorer vessel, decommissioned 3 millennia prior. Rudimentary warp field generators, incapable of sustained FTL travel beyond localized jumps. Inertial dampeners from a salvage fleet. Components that, by all logical metrics, should have confined them to a slow, arduous progression through their own solar system for millennia. Yet the telemetry from Sector Gamma 7 indicates otherwise." He gestured, and a new projection bloomed into existence, a complex, swirling vortex of energy, unlike any recorded phenomenon. "This is the signature of their vessel. Its current trajectory places it directly within the established demarcation zone, approaching the outer perimeter of the Cathar Collective's territory. An intrusion, deliberate or otherwise." Ambassador Enthar, a representative of the Cathar Collective, his scaled hide shimmering with irritation, slammed a heavy, clawed fist onto his personal console. The resulting thud echoed through the chamber, a stark counterpoint to the hushed tension. "An intrusion, High Elder, and an affront. We tolerated their initial probes, their nascent attempts at FTL. We even permitted their peculiar agricultural vessels to approach our outer asteroid belts, harvesting resources we deemed inconsequential. But this is a violation of established galactic treaty. They were given the technological means to explore their own stellar neighborhood, not to encroach upon sovereign territories. What manner of logic guides these humans?" "Logic, Ambassador Enthar, is precisely what we are attempting to ascertain," Vylra interjected, her voice maintaining its steady, synthesized calm. "Our linguistic analysis of their intercepted communications indicates a highly complex, yet often contradictory cultural framework. They speak of concepts like ingenuity, adaptability, and making do with what they have. Primitive virtues, perhaps, but their application appears to transcend our predictive models. They were given propulsion systems designed for short-range transit, components capable of generating only fleeting, unstable warp bubbles. Yet, they have not only stabilized these systems, but amplified their efficiency by an order of magnitude we deemed impossible without entirely new physics." High Elder T.A. Chanier brought a multi-jointed limb to rest upon a pulsating holographic display. "The Zalosian drive core we provided, it was based on an archaic form of gravitonic displacement, limited, inefficient, designed for atmospheric manipulation and short-range orbital maneuvering, not interstellar travel. They have apparently repurposed it. The word tasted foreign on his vocal cords, implying a lack of adherence to design specifications that was utterly anathema to Zalosian engineering principles. Our deep space surveillance indicates a vessel of unprecedented design. It bears the hallmark of those scraps, certainly. The core structural elements, the rudimentary energy conduits, they are recognizable. But the surrounding architecture, the weapon emplacements, the shielding projections, these are entirely novel. Built from components we never provided, utilizing principles we do not yet fully comprehend. It is, by all accounts, a synthesis of the obsolete and the utterly unknown. A ripple of fear, cold and insidious, began to spread through the chamber. The implications were staggering. If a nascent species, given only the most basic, discarded elements of technology, could so radically re-engineer them, could not only adapt but innovate beyond the original design parameters, what did that say about the hegemony's understanding of technological progression? And more disturbingly, what did it say about the inherent capabilities of this humanity? Their vessel, Vylra continued, her voice gaining a metallic edge, is generating a gravimetric distortion field that far exceeds the theoretical maximum for a vessel of its apparent mass. It is not merely traveling through warp space. It is carving its own path, bending localized spacetime to its will, and the energy output, it is staggering. Equivalent to a small star contained within a mere hull. Our long-range sensor arrays are struggling to maintain a lock. The distortions are so pronounced. Enthar snarled, his scales bristling. A small star contained within a hull, with our scraps. This is beyond insult. This is a threat. They are approaching Cathar space with a weaponized star. What do they intend? Conquest? Annihilation? Do they not understand the delicate balance of the galactic order? Their communications remain enigmatic. Hanir responded, his voice grave. Our universal translators struggle with their linguistic nuances. Their intentions, as best as we can ascertain from the fragmented data, are exploration, resource acquisition, and perplexingly, first contact. First contact? Enthar scoffed, the sound like grinding stone. They initiate first contact by breaching sovereign territory with a weapon that could devastate a world. This is not diplomacy, this is veiled aggression. High Elder Hanir raised a silencing digit. We must proceed with caution. The Cathar Collective is prepared to engage their vessel should it violate the final demarcation line. But I urge restraint. We know nothing of their true capabilities, nor their true motivations. To provoke an unknown entity of such apparent power would be imprudent. He paused, his multifaceted eyes sweeping across the delegates, each face a mask of varying degrees of fear and apprehension. We sent them rudimentary tools. We observed their slow ascent. We expected predictable outcomes. Instead, we have cultivated a species that has taken those tools, those scraps, and forged something new, something terrifying. Our preliminary analysis suggests that their ship, the one they have designated Odyssey, has effectively modeled the most dangerous vessel in this quadrant of the galaxy. Not by our design, but by theirs. A collective gasp, a rustle of anxiety swept through the chamber. The implication hung heavy in the air. They had given them the discarded remnants of a long-forgotten age, and humanity, in its incomprehensible ingenuity, had transmuted them into a potential harbinger of galactic instability. The very act of providing them with assistance now seemed a monumental miscalculation. The quiet hum of the chamber intensified, reflecting the internal turmoil of its inhabitants. The weight of their past decisions, their confident assumptions about predictable evolutionary paths, pressed down upon them. They had believed themselves to be the architects of galactic order, subtly guiding nascent civilizations, maintaining equilibrium. Now, a single unassuming species born from the very scraps they had so casually dispensed, threatened to unravel that carefully constructed tapestry. The projected image of the human vessel, the Odyssey, shimmered with an unsettling luminescence, its faint, distorted outline defying the hegemony's most advanced sensor algorithms. It was not overtly aggressive in form. There were no overt weapon emplacements visible to the naked eye. Yet the energy readings it emitted, the way it bent space around itself with such casual disdain for conventional physics, bespoke a latent power that even the most seasoned strategic minds. The Cathar patrol fleet is maintaining a defensive posture, Ambassador Enthar stated, his voice now lower, tinged with a reluctant caution. But their flagship, the Invincible Hand, reports significant sensor interference. The human vessel's gravimetric field is disrupting their targeting systems, even at extreme range. It is as if it is actively obscuring itself despite its immense energy output. Vilra offered, perhaps a form of active camouflage or an intentional distortion to prevent targeting. Their intercepted communications frequently mention a concept they term stealth, even when discussing objects of immense scale. A peculiar paradox. A peculiar paradox indeed, T.A. Chanier echoed, his gaze fixed on the Odyssey's shimmering image. They build a vessel that radiates the power of a dwarf star, yet seek to obscure its presence. This speaks to a strategic mindset we have yet to decipher. Are they asserting dominance, testing our defenses, or is there another, more profound motivation? He paused, allowing the gravity of his words to settle. We must attempt direct contact. Their arrival at the demarcation line is imminent. Send a hail, a formal greeting in all known diplomatic languages. Do not mention their trespass. Do not mention the Cathar fleet. A simple welcome. We seek to understand, not to provoke. The decision was met with a chorus of apprehensive agreement. The alternative, an engagement with an unknown entity of such terrifying power, was too dire to contemplate. The silence that followed was thick, punctuated only by the subtle hum of the chamber and the soft thrumming of the Zalosian elder's multifaceted eyes as he processed the vast streams of data. The fate of their carefully constructed galactic order, balanced on the knife edge of a single approaching human vessel, felt suddenly fragile. Then a faint, resonant chime echoed through the chamber, signifying an incoming transmission. All eyes immediately snapped to the main projection. A new image coalesced, not the distorted outline of the Odyssey, but a clean, unblemished feed originating directly from within the human vessel. The image clarified, resolving into a startlingly clear depiction of a humanoid face. It was undeniably alien, yet familiar in its symmetries. The skin was a soft, pale hue, the eyes a deep, intelligent blue, framed by strands of what appeared to be dark, fibrous material hair. The expression was calm, composed, devoid of any discernible aggression or fear. Greetings, the human voice began, its tone resonant and surprisingly melodic, filtered through the hegemony's universal translator. The words were delivered with a measured cadence, a deliberate pacing that conveyed an impression of thoughtful consideration. This is Captain Aris Thorne of the United Earth starship Odyssey. We have detected your signals and your vessels. We apologize if our trajectory has caused any concern. Our navigation systems indicated this region as unexplored territory, and our primary directive is peaceful first contact and scientific exploration. Enthar's scales bristled. Unexplored territory? They claim territory that has been charted and settled for millennia as unexplored, he hissed, barely audible to anyone but T.A. Chanier. T.A. Chanier, however, remained impassive, his focus entirely on Captain Thorne. The human's words, though conciliatory, carried an undertone of subtle assertion. Our navigation systems indicated this region as unexplored territory. It wasn't an apology for intrusion, but a statement of their own navigational data, implicitly challenging the hegemony's claims without overt aggression. Captain Thorne, T.A. Chanier replied, his voice a carefully modulated thrum. We welcome your communication. This region of space, while perhaps not fully charted by your species, falls within the recognized and long-established territories of the Zalosian hegemony and its allied member worlds. Your vessel has approached the sovereign space of the Cathar Collective. Captain Thorne's expression remained unperturbed. We understand, High Elder. Our apologies for any misunderstanding. Our long-range astrogational charts, compiled over centuries, did not indicate the presence of established polities in this precise sector. We are always eager to update our knowledge. May we formally request permission to enter your designated space under strict observation for the purpose of diplomatic exchange and mutual understanding. We have no hostile intentions, and our vessel is equipped for only defensive measures, not offensive engagement. Enthar nearly choked on his indignation. Defensive measures? Their vessel radiates the power of a small sun, and they claim defensive measures. T.A. Chanier silenced him with a subtle yet firm gesture. Captain Thorne, your claim of defensive measures is intriguing given the energy output of your vessel. Our sensor readings indicate a sign. Significant, shall we say, potential for destructive force. Captain Thorne offered a slight, almost imperceptible smile. It was a subtle shift in the muscles around his eyes and mouth, yet it conveyed a profound depth of meaning. High Elder, the Odyssey was constructed with a primary purpose: extended interstellar travel and the safe passage of its crew. Our propulsion and energy generation systems, while robust, are simply designed for efficiency and redundancy in the vast emptiness of space. We encountered several challenges in our initial efforts to achieve reliable FTL travel. The components we acquired from the interstellar debris field you so graciously left in our solar system, while ingenious in their original design, required considerable adaptation to meet our specific needs. The word acquired hung in the air, a polite euphemism for the scraps they had provided. The humans' deliberate choice of words, devoid of accusation yet subtly acknowledging the source of their technology, was a masterful stroke of diplomacy. It disarmed, yet it also asserted their independence. Adaptation? Vylra finally interjected, unable to suppress her scientific curiosity. Captain Thorne, the Zalosian gravitonic displacement drives you apparently utilized were designed for atmospheric maneuvering. They possessed inherent limitations regarding sustained FTL velocity and stability. To achieve the energy output and gravimetric manipulation your vessel demonstrates, that is not merely adaptation. That is a fundamental re-engineering. It implies a theoretical understanding of exotic matter and energy principles that surpasses our current models. Captain Thorne's smile widened fractionally. We found the original design quite elegant, Ambassador. But yes, it did require some refinements. Our engineers discovered that by introducing certain stable exotic matter isotopes derived from materials abundant in our home system, and by reconfiguring the containment fields to a multidimensional array, we could achieve a resonance cascade. This allowed for a significantly more efficient energy conversion, effectively overclocking the original design. The resulting gravimetric field, while a byproduct of this process, proved remarkably useful for both propulsion and, as you noted, a certain passive defense. A resonance cascade, multidimensional containment fields, exotic matter isotopes. The words resonated through the chamber, each a hammer blow to the hegemony's self-assured technological superiority. They had given them rudimentary components, and humanity had not merely improved them, but transcended them, using principles the hegemony itself was only beginning to theorize. The scraps they had dispensed as a benevolent gesture had been transformed into the genesis of a technological leap so profound. It threatened to render their own understanding of physics obsolete. High Elder T.A. Chanier felt a cold dread settle in his primary processing cluster. This was not merely ingenuity, this was a paradigm shift. "Captain Thorne," he said, his voice now devoid of its previous thrum, a flat, almost reverent tone. "You claim your vessel is for defensive measures only. Yet the gravimetric field you generate is capable of tearing apart vessels many times your size. The energy output alone, if unleashed, could sterilize a planetary surface. We understand the need for self-preservation, but the magnitude of this defense is alarming." Captain Thorne's blue eyes held T.A. Chanier's gaze, unwavering. "High Elder, consider the vastness of the cosmos. Consider the unknown. We are a young species, making our first tentative steps into a galaxy teeming with life, much of it undoubtedly more advanced than our own. We designed the Odyssey not as a weapon of aggression, but as a vessel of survival. Our engineers, drawing upon centuries of human ingenuity born from hardship and resourcefulness, configured our systems for maximum resilience and adaptability. If our scraps became something more, it was out of a deep-seated human need to overcome adversity, to protect what is precious, and to explore the unknown safely. We do not seek to threaten, we seek only to exist and to understand." His words, delivered with such calm conviction, began to chip away at the layers of fear and misunderstanding. It was not arrogance in his tone, but a profound sense of purpose. A species that, given the barest minimum, had forged a path not of conquest, but of profound self-reliance and protective capability. They had modeled their vessel not as the most dangerous ship in the galaxy for offensive purposes, but as the most capable of surviving anything the galaxy could throw at it. And in that capacity, it became, by logical extension, the most dangerous entity to those who might seek to threaten it. Enthar remained unconvinced, his scales still bristling. "Survival is one thing, Captain Thorne. Possessing the means to annihilate another is quite an other. How are we to interpret this defensive capability when it surpasses all known offensive capabilities?" Captain Thorne sighed, a subtle exhalation of air, a gesture of weariness that seemed incongruous with his otherwise composed demeanor. "Ambassador, imagine a creature, small and seemingly fragile, born into a world of predators. It possesses no claws, no fangs, no hardened shell. Its only defense is its wit, its ability to adapt, to utilize whatever it finds to protect itself. If in its desperation for survival, it fashions a shield from discarded material, and that shield proves impenetrable, does that make the creature a predator? Or merely a survivor? A profound silence descended upon the chamber. The human's analogy, so simple yet so profound, resonated deep within the alien minds. It spoke of a primal struggle, a universal truth that transcended technological superiority. They had seen humanity as a nascent species, ripe for guidance, perhaps even exploitation. They had underestimated their resilience, their inherent drive to overcome. They had given them scraps, expecting them to build predictable tools. Instead, humanity had built an indomitable will to survive, manifested in a ship that was, paradoxically, both a testament to ingenuity and a terrifying warning. High Elder T.A. Chanier finally spoke, his voice imbued with a newfound respect. Captain Thorne, your analogy is insightful. We will permit your vessel to enter a designated neutral zone within the Cathar Collective's perimeter for a period of formal diplomatic exchange. Your vessel will remain under constant surveillance, and any aggressive maneuvers will be met with the full force of the hegemony. However, we acknowledge your declared intentions. We seek to understand this unique approach to galactic interaction. Captain Thorne nodded, a faint flicker of relief crossing his features. Thank you, High Elder. We appreciate your understanding. We look forward to productive dialogue. We believe that mutual understanding, not technological disparity, should form the bedrock of interstellar relations. The transmission ended, leaving the shimmering image of Captain Thorne's calm, intelligent face burned into the minds of the delegates. The projected image of the Odyssey remained, its spectral glow no longer just a warning, but a profound philosophical query. They had judged humanity by their technological beginnings, by the scraps they had been given. They had failed to judge them by the boundless potential of the human spirit. The Cathar Collective, adhering to the High Elder's directive, maintained a cautious distance. Their patrol fleet, a formidable array of battleships bristling with energy projectors, formed a wide cordon around the designated neutral zone. Yet their posture was less aggressive now, tempered by the High Elder's unexpected pronouncements and the enigmatic calm of Captain Thorne. Ambassador Enthar, his anger slowly giving way to a grudging respect, observed the human vessel through the hegemony's enhanced sensor feeds. It was undeniably powerful, but it remained motionless, its gravimetric field a shimmering, almost artistic distortion in the void. A hegemony diplomatic shuttle, sleek and unarmed, detached from a nearby Zalosian cruiser and began its slow, deliberate approach towards the Odyssey. High Elder T.A. Chanier, accompanied by Ambassador Vilra and a small retinue of scientific and diplomatic personnel, was aboard. The journey was tense, the silence within the shuttle punctuated only by the soft hum of its engines and the rapid flicker of data readouts. As they drew closer, the sheer scale of the Odyssey became apparent. It was not gargantuan by hegemony standards, but its form was unlike anything they had encountered. It possessed an organic asymmetry, a flowing elegance that defied conventional engineering. The visible external components, the remnants of the scraps they had provided, were still discernible, but they were now seamlessly integrated into a larger, more complex whole, like ancient bones reanimated with new flesh and purpose. The subtle energy fields playing across its hull were mesmerizing, shifting hues of deep blue and violet. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud. The airlock hissed open, revealing a sterile yet strangely inviting corridor. Two humans, dressed in simple, form-fitting uniforms, stood waiting. One was Captain Thorne, his blue eyes holding a knowing intelligence. The other, a female, possessed a similar calm demeanor, her dark hair pulled back neatly. "Welcome aboard the Odyssey, High Elder T.A. Chanier, Ambassador Vilra," Captain Thorne greeted, his voice resonating softly in the enclosed space. "I am Captain Aris Thorne, and this is my first officer, Commander Lyra Vance. We are honored by your visit." T.A. Chanier, composed despite his internal curiosity, extended a multi-jointed limb in a traditional Zalosian gesture of peace. "The honor is ours, Captain Thorne. We seek understanding." Commander Vance gestured down the corridor. "If you would follow us, High Elder, we have prepared a briefing chamber where we can discuss matters more comprehensively." As they walked, T.A. Chanier observed the interior of the Odyssey. It was not opulent, nor was it austere. It possessed a functional elegance, every surface appearing meticulously maintained. There were no overt displays of power, no ostentatious technological showcases. Yet beneath the calm exterior, T.A. Chanier sensed a profound capability, a quiet confidence that resonated with the calm demeanor of the human crew. They entered a spacious chamber, bathed in soft, diffused light. A circular table, fashioned from a material T.A. Chanier did not recognize, dominated the center. Holographic projectors, subtly integrated into the tabletop, hummed gently. "Please be seated," Captain Thorne invited, indicating seats that seemed designed to accommodate a variety of alien physiologies. Once settled, T.A. Chanier began, "Captain Thorne, we appreciate your transparency. However, we remain perplexed by the discrepancy between your declared intentions of peaceful exploration and the demonstrable power of your vessel. The energy signature alone is unparalleled for a non-military craft." Captain Thorne nodded slowly. "High Elder, our definition of military may differ from yours. On Earth, for centuries, the line between defense and offense has been blurred. But our core principle remains, to protect our people, our home, and our future. The Odyssey represents that principle distilled. When we first achieved rudimentary FTL, using the components you so generously left for us, we encountered a harsh reality. Space is vast and often unforgiving. Resource scarcity, extreme environmental hazards, and yes, the potential for unknown threats all presented challenges we, as a young species, had to overcome. Our solutions, by necessity, had to be robust. Commander Vance then activated the holographic projector. A schematic of the Odyssey materialized, rotating slowly above the table. It was far more detailed than anything the hegemony had managed to scan. "As you can see," Vance explained, her voice clear and precise, "the primary energy core, which you correctly identified as a modified gravitonic displacement drive, now functions as a multi-purpose energy nexus. It powers our propulsion, certainly, but also our life support, environmental recyclers, manufacturing replicators, and critically, our defensive shielding and gravimetric manipulators." T.A. Chanier's multifaceted eyes absorbed the intricate details. "Manufacturing replicators? You generate resources aboard your vessel." "Indeed," Thorne confirmed. "Space is an empty place. To sustain extended voyages, we had to develop the capacity to synthesize raw materials from processed stellar dust, cometary ice, and even trace elements within asteroid fields. The original Zalosian inertial dampeners, which we found in your scraps, proved instrumental in creating the containment fields necessary for high-yield matter-energy conversion." Vylra gasped softly, a barely audible intake of her synthesized breath. "You used inertial dampeners to create matter-energy containment? That is profoundly unorthodox. Their theoretical application for such a purpose was discarded millennia ago due to instability risks." "Instability was a significant hurdle, yes," Thorne conceded with a faint smile. "But human ingenuity, Ambassador, often thrives on overcoming such hurdles. We discovered that by constantly recalibrating the dampener fields using a predictive quantum algorithm, we could maintain stability even during high-yield conversion. It required computational power we initially lacked, but we developed bioneural processors that could handle the immense data streams." Bioneural processors, another revelation, not mere silicon-based circuits, but living, adaptable computational networks. The technological disparity was widening with every revelation. "Gravimetric manipulators," Vance continued, gesturing to a section of the schematic that glowed with a faint blue light, "are an extension of the primary drives field. They allow us to create localized space-time distortions, not just for propulsion but for defensive purposes. A targeted distortion can deflect incoming projectiles, dissipate energy weapons, or even create a temporary localized vacuum around our hull, rendering certain forms of attack inert. It's a versatile system." T.A. Chanier observed the simulated deflection of a projected energy beam, twisting and dissipating harmlessly against the Odyssey's shimmering field. It was not a shield in the traditional sense, but an active manipulation of reality itself. It was terrifyingly effective. "And the weapons Enthar was so concerned about?" T.A. Chanier inquired, his voice carefully neutral. Thorne paused, his expression thoughtful. "We carry no offensive weaponry, High Elder, none de zig. Ned to destroy. We do possess highly energetic plasma torches, primarily for asteroid mining and large-scale construction in space. These can, if necessary, be configured to vent raw plasma in a defensive burst, but their primary function is industrial. Our true defense, as we define it, lies in our ability to avoid conflict, to absorb damage, and to escape. The Odyssey is built for resilience, not aggression. It is a lifeboat, meticulously engineered for the deepest, most dangerous voyages into the unknown. A lifeboat, the word hung in the air, imbued with a profound weight. They had built a vessel of unparalleled power not to dominate but to survive. And in their relentless pursuit of survival, they had inadvertently created a ship that, to an outsider, appeared to be the most formidable instrument of war. The philosophy was alien, yet profoundly logical. A species that had learned to make do with nothing, to forge strength from weakness, to innovate beyond the expectations of others, was a species that valued life above all else. "Captain Thorne," Vilra began, her synthesized voice barely a whisper, "you speak of making do, of resilience, but the level of theoretical understanding, the practical application of such advanced principles, this is not merely scraps. This is a fundamental leap in scientific comprehension. You have achieved what our most esteemed researchers are only beginning to theorize. How did a species, so recently confined to a single world, achieve such mastery?" Captain Thorne and Commander Vance exchanged a glance. It was not a look of arrogance, but of shared experience, of a long, arduous journey. "Ambassador," Thorne replied, his voice soft, almost reflective. "Humanity's history is replete with struggle, with environmental catastrophes, with conflict, with the constant striving for more. We learned to adapt, to innovate, because failure often meant extinction. When we received your gifts, we didn't see limitations. We saw possibilities. We saw a challenge. Every discarded component was a puzzle to be solved, every theoretical barrier a wall to be climbed. Our scientists, our engineers, our dreamers, they poured generations of their lives into understanding those scraps. They weren't just technology. They were a key unlocking a universe we desperately wanted to explore." Commander Vance added, "Our species has a peculiar trait, Ambassador. We call it stubborn optimism. Even in the face of insurmountable odds, we tend to believe we can find a way. We have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way. The components you provided were a spark. Our will provided the inferno." High Elder T.A. Chanier felt a profound shift within his perception. He had come here expecting to confront an arrogant, technologically advanced aggressor. Instead, he found a species driven by an almost desperate will to survive, to explore, to overcome. Their power was not born of conquest, but of necessity. Their ingenuity was not a boast, but a quiet testament to their resilience. "Captain Thorne," T.A. Chanier stated, his voice now entirely devoid of suspicion, tinged instead with a profound awe. "You have given us much to ponder. Your species, your humanity, is unlike any we have encountered. Your approach to technology, to survival, to interstellar interaction defies all our predictive models. We offered you scraps, expecting a predictable path. You forged a path entirely your own, built upon a foundation of ingenuity and an indomitable will. We now understand why the Odyssey is, indeed, the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. Not because it seeks to destroy, but because it represents a force of nature, the relentless, adaptable, and utterly unpredictable spirit of life itself." The philosophical weight of his words settled upon the chamber. The hegemony had sought to categorize, to control, to predict. Humanity had shattered those constructs with the quiet, undeniable force of their existence. The fear of the unknown began to recede, replaced by a profound curiosity, and perhaps a touch of humility. The galactic order they had so carefully constructed was not threatened by an invading fleet, but by a new, unforeseen variable. A variable that challenged their very understanding of evolution, technology, and the nature of sentience. And in that challenge lay the seeds of something truly profound. The initial diplomatic exchanges extended into several cycles, each meeting between the hegemony delegates and the human crew revealing deeper layers of humanity's unique perspective and capabilities. The Cathar collective, initially hostile, found their apprehensions slowly eroding in the face of the humans' transparent sincerity and logical reasoning. Ambassador Enthar, though still wary, could not deny the stark efficiency of the Odyssey's systems, nor the calm competence of its crew. High Elder T.A. Chanier, in particular, spent many hours in conversation with Captain Thorne and Commander Vance. Delving into the intricacies of human philosophy, their history of conflict and cooperation, and their peculiar drive for constant self-improvement. He found their perspectives on ethics, resource management, and interstellar responsibility to be remarkably aligned with the hegemony's own core tenets, despite the vast differences in their technological development and cultural evolution. The humans spoke of a concept called reciprocity, a mutual exchange of aid and knowledge, rather than the hegemony's more paternalistic approach to nascent civilizations. During one such extended session, T.A. Chanier introduced a topic that had been weighing heavily on the hegemony's collective mind. Captain Thorne, you spoke earlier of the unknown, of threats in the vastness of space. Our intelligence agencies have, for millennia, monitored anomalous energy signatures emanating from the uncharted regions beyond the galactic rim. We have long dismissed them as natural phenomena, or perhaps the remnants of ancient, long-extinct civilizations. But your vessel, with its unprecedented sensor capabilities and advanced energy detection, may offer a new perspective. Captain Thorne's blue eyes narrowed slightly. High Elder, our long-range sensors have indeed detected several highly unusual energy emanations. They are not consistent with natural stellar processes, nor with any known technological signatures. They appear artificial and immense. Our probes have attempted to triangulate their origin, but the distances are staggering, and the signals are highly erratic, almost deliberately obscured. Vilra activated a new holographic projection on the briefing table. It displayed a vast, spiraling galaxy with a shimmering red halo outlining the uncharted regions beyond the rim. Within that halo, pinpricks of crimson light pulsed erratically. These are the anomalies we speak of. We have designated them the Void Whispers. They are distant, yet their sheer energy output suggests a scale that beggars belief. We have theorized they might be the residual energies of a cosmic superstructure, or perhaps a natural phenomenon of extraordinary magnitude. Commander Vance, after a moment of intense focus on the projections, spoke, her voice quieter than usual. High Elder, our analysis suggests something far more deliberate. The energy signatures, though erratic, follow a non-random pattern. They appear to be pulsed, and the energy harmonics, they resonate with a very specific, incredibly high-frequency wavelength. We have been trying to decipher them. Decipher them? T.A. Chanier inquired, intrigued. Do you believe they are communications? Perhaps, Thorne replied, his gaze distant, lost in thought. Or a form of beacon. Our bioneural processors have been running simulations attempting to find a pattern in the chaos, and we've had some perplexing results. He gestured to Vance. Commander. Vance nodded and manipulated the holographic interface. The crimson pinpricks intensified, resolving into complex, fluctuating waveform patterns. Based on our initial decryption attempts, using our advanced pattern recognition algorithms, we believe these pulses are not merely energy emanating from a distant source. They are, in fact, incredibly compressed data packets, and their content is concerning. A profound silence descended upon the chamber. The hegemony had been observing these void whispers for millennia, dismissing them as background noise. Humanity, with its scraps and its bioneural processors, was on the verge of deciphering them. Concerning, Captain? T.A. Chanier finally prompted, his voice low with a building apprehension. Captain Thorne leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table, his expression grave. High Elder, we believe these data packets contain a warning and a call for aid. They describe a predatory species originating from beyond the galactic barrier, a species that feeds on stellar energy, consuming entire star systems to fuel its expansion. They term themselves the architects of entropy. A collective gasp rippled through the alien delegates. The architects of entropy, a name that resonated with chilling finality. These messages, Vance continued, her voice tight, speak of entire civilizations consumed, of galaxies sterilized. The warnings are ancient, spanning millions of years, fading echoes of dying empires. The language is universal, embedded in mathematical constants and cosmological principles. It appears to be an automated beacon, broadcasting a desperate plea across the void, a last gasp of a doomed alliance. T.A. Chanier felt a cold dread, deeper and more profound than any he had experienced before, seep into his core. He had worried about a single human vessel, an anomaly within their carefully ordered galaxy. Now, a threat of unimaginable scale, a cosmic horror, was being revealed by the very species he had initially underestimated. And why were we unable to decipher this? Vilra whispered, her emphasized voice trembling slightly. Our cryptographers are renowned. Ambassador, the encoding is incredibly complex, Thorne explained. It requires not just computational power, but a unique approach to pattern recognition. Our bioneural processors, which mimic the adaptable, intuitive processes of the human brain, coupled with our species' long history of deciphering obscure languages and codes born from necessity, gave us an unexpected advantage. We're still only scratching the surface, but the core message is clear. He then activated a new projection, a simulated image of a colossal entity, vast and amorphous, its form a swirling vortex of dark energy, consuming a star. The image was disturbing, visceral, a nightmare made real. "This is a reconstruction based on the decoded data," Vance stated, her voice grim. "The architects of entropy, they are not biological in the traditional sense. They are sentient energy constructs, parasitic in nature, propagating through the consumption of stellar matter. Their expansion rate, according to the ancient warnings, is exponential, and they are heading this way." T.A. Chanier stared at the horrifying projection, his multifaceted eyes wide with a dawning terror. The hegemony, for all its advanced technology and millennia of galactic dominance, had never contemplated a threat of this magnitude. Their conflicts had always been localized, against other biological species, bound by comprehensible motives. This was an existential nightmare. "How far?" Enthar demanded, his scales losing their previous irritation, replaced by a deep primal fear. Captain Thorne looked at him, his expression somber. "The warnings are millions of years old. The architects of entropy have been propagating for that entire time. Based on the estimated expansion rate from the decoded data, we believe they are perhaps tens of thousands of light years away. Still distant, but their approach is inevitable. And once they breach the galactic rim, their advance will be swift and unstoppable, consuming system after system." The implications were staggering. The hegemony, the Cathar collective, all the myriad civilizations of the galaxy, had been squabbling over trivial territorial disputes, blissfully unaware of the true, cosmic horror slowly encroaching upon their very existence. And it was humanity, the species they had underestimated, the ones they had dismissed as mere recipients of their scraps, who had uncovered this horrifying truth. This changes everything," T.A. Chanier murmured, his voice barely audible. The grand chamber of the conclave, once filled with political anxieties and diplomatic tensions, now seemed utterly insignificant in the face of this cosmic revelation. "Indeed, High Elder," Captain Thorne agreed, his gaze steady. "Which brings us to our proposition. Humanity as a species has learned to adapt, to innovate, to survive against overwhelming odds. We built the Odyssey as a lifeboat to protect ourselves, but we also believe in cooperation, in mutual aid. These warnings speak of an ancient alliance, a desperate, failed attempt to halt the architects of entropy. Perhaps this time, with the combined knowledge and resources of your hegemony and our unique approach, we might have a chance." The proposition hung in the air, audacious and terrifying. An alliance between a nascent species and a millennia-old galactic power, forged in the crucible of an existential threat. The irony was not lost on T.A. Chanier. They had given humanity scraps, believing they were subtly guiding a developing species. Instead, humanity had taken those scraps, transformed them into a vessel of unparalleled capability, and then, with that very vessel, unveiled a threat that dwarfed all their previous concerns. And now, humanity offered them a path forward, not as supplicants, but as potential saviors born from the very materials they had discarded. The galactic order was not merely challenged, it was irrevocably altered. The future, once predictable, was now uncertain, terrifying, and profoundly dependent on the unexpected resilience of humanity. The revelation of the architects of entropy sent shockwaves through the Xylosian hegemony and its allied worlds. The initial skepticism among the various member species, accustomed to their carefully constructed reality, quickly crumbled under the weight of the meticulously presented data from the Odyssey. Captain Thorne, Commander Vance, and a team of human scientists meticulously laid out their findings, presenting decoded fragments of the ancient warnings, simulated projections of the architect's consumption patterns, and detailed analyses of the peculiar energy signatures. The hegemony's own deep space probes, now reprogrammed with human algorithms, began to corroborate the Odyssey's readings, albeit with less clarity. The cosmic horror was undeniable. High Elder T.A. Chanier convened an emergency session of the Grand Conclave, extending an invitation to Captain Thorne and Commander Vance to address the full assembly. The chamber, usually a bastion of cool political maneuvering, was now a cauldron of fear and desperate deliberation. The holographic projection of the architects of entropy, devouring a star, remained central, a chilling reminder of the imminent doom. Captain Thorne stood before the assembled delegates, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the palpable anxiety in the room. "Esteemed delegates, the threat of the architects of entropy is not one that can be faced by any single species, no matter how advanced. Their scale of consumption, their method of propagation, and their ancient origins suggest a force of nature, rather than a conventional adversary. However, their ancient victims, in their final moments, managed to encode a warning. And within that warning, there are faint echoes of hope. They spoke of a pattern disruption, a theoretical weakness in the architect's propagation method. Commander Vance then projected a complex diagram onto the central display. The architects of entropy are not just consuming stars, they are also broadcasting their own unique energy signature, effectively acting as a vast, interconnected network. This network allows them to coordinate their stellar consumption, to expand their reach, and to communicate across vast intergalactic distances. The ancient messages hint that disrupting this network, even temporarily, could slow their advance, perhaps even sever their connection to their primary energy source, rendering them vulnerable. A network disruption? A delegate from the HFY Confederacy, a species known for their advanced cybernetics, questioned. But if their network spans entire galaxies, if it is powered by consumed stars, how could any force hope to disrupt it? Precisely the challenge, Thorne replied, his gaze sweeping across the delegates. The ancient alliance, in their desperation, attempted direct confrontation using immense energy weapons. They failed. The architects merely absorbed the energy, growing stronger. We believe the key lies not in overwhelming force, but in a precise, subtle disruption. The ancient messages speak of a resonant frequency, a specific harmonic that, if introduced into the architect's network, could cause a feedback loop, momentarily destabilizing their propagation. T.A. Chanier, who had been listening intently, interjected, "Captain Thorne, this resonant frequency, have your bioneural processors identified it?" "We have a theoretical model, High Elder," Vance confirmed. "Based on the anomalies within the architect's own energetic output, we've identified a potential counterfrequency. However, generating it and projecting it across the vast distances required to reach their network would require an energy output unparalleled in this galaxy, and a focused emitter of immense power." A collective murmur swept through the chamber. The Zalosian hegemony possessed advanced energy generation, certainly, but nothing on the scale the humans were describing. "This is where our combined efforts become crucial," Thorne continued, his voice steady, his blue eyes holding a persuasive intensity. "The Odyssey, built from the scraps you gave us, has an unprecedented energy generation capacity. Its modified gravitonic drive, coupled with our exotic matter conversion systems, can produce energy on a scale that rivals a small star. This was designed for resilience, for deep space exploration, for a lifeboat, but it can also be repurposed." He paused, allowing the implication to sink in. The very thing that had terrified them, the Odyssey's immense power, was now being presented as their only hope. The most dangerous ship in the galaxy, not for its destructive potential, but for its life-saving potential. "We believe," Thorne elaborated, "that by reconfiguring the Odyssey's energy core and its gravimetric manipulators, we can create a focused, high-intensity emitter capable of generating and projecting this resonant frequency. The challenge is immense. It would strain our systems to their absolute limits, risking catastrophic feedback and the potential destruction of the vessel. But it is, we believe, the only way to introduce this pattern disruption into the architect's network." Enthar, his usual bluster replaced by a sober resolve, finally spoke. "Captain Thorne, if this is truly our only hope, then the Cathar Collective will commit its finest engineers, its most robust materials, and its most advanced computational resources to assist your efforts. If your scraps can save us, then we will provide the best of our own." A wave of similar declarations swept through the chamber. The various delegates, their fear now channeled into a desperate will to survive, began to pledge their support. The Zalosian hegemony, the HFY Confederacy, the Lumina Concordance, all united under the shadow of a common enemy, guided by the ingenuity of a species I had once dismissed. High Elder T.A. Chanier felt a profound sense of awe and humility. They had judged humanity by their starting point, by the humble tools they had been given. They had failed to see the limitless potential within the human spirit, the capacity for adaptation, for innovation, for forging salvation from mere scraps. Humanity had not just built a powerful ship. They had built a philosophy of resilience, a testament to the indomitable will to survive against impossible odds. The ensuing galactic alliance was unprecedented. For the first time in millennia, the myriad species of the galaxy worked together with a singular purpose. Zalosian engineers, their multi-jointed limbs moving with precise efficiency, collaborated with human scientists, bridging millennia of technological divergence. Cathar resource fleets, once focused on territorial expansion, were now redirected to scour asteroid belts for the exotic materials required for the Odyssey's reconfiguration. HFY cyberneticists worked in tandem with human bioneural specialists, optimizing the complex quantum algorithms required for the resonant frequency. The Odyssey became the focal point of the Galactic effort, docked at a specially constructed orbital drydock, surrounded by a fleet of allied support vessels. Its elegant, organic form was slowly augmented, not with weaponry, but with massive, crystalline conduits designed to channel and focus the immense energy required. The task was fraught with peril, pushing the limits of known physics and engineering. Catastrophic failures were narrowly averted, systems were pushed to their breaking points, but the human crew, aided by their new alien allies, pressed on with relentless determination. Captain Thorne and Commander Vance were omnipresent, overseeing every aspect of the reconfiguration, their calm resolve a beacon of stability amidst the immense pressure. They embodied the human spirit, resourceful, adaptable, and fiercely determined. After many cycles of intense labor and scientific breakthroughs, the Odyssey was ready. It was no longer just a lifeboat, it was a beacon of hope, a weapon forged from the very essence of survival. Its gravimetric field, once a source of fear, now shimmered with a controlled intensity, its energy output amplified to unimaginable levels. The final strategy was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. The Odyssey would travel to the furthest reaches of the galactic rim, to a region bordering the encroaching void, and unleash the resonant frequency. The Allied fleet would form a defensive perimeter, protecting the Odyssey during its vulnerable emission phase, ready to interdict any architects of entropy scouts that might approach. High Elder T.A. Chanier stood on the bridge of the Zalosian flagship, the Celestial Aegis, watching the Odyssey prepare for its momentous journey. Captain Thorne's image flickered onto the main display, his face resolute. High Elder, Thorne's voice resonated calm and steady. The Odyssey is ready. We will initiate the jump sequence now. Wish us luck. Luck, Captain Thorne, T.A. Chanier replied, his voice imbued with a newfound respect and profound gratitude. And may the ingenuity of your species, born from the scraps we once dismissed, save us all. The Odyssey, shimmering with an internal light, activated its modified gravitonic drive. The gravimetric distortions around it intensified, creating a swirling vortex of spacetime. Then, with a silent, blinding flash of light, it was gone, making a jump into the uncharted void, carrying the hopes of an entire galaxy. Days stretched into anxious weeks. The Allied fleet maintained its vigil at the galactic rim, their sensors straining for any sign of the architects of entropy, or more importantly, any indication of the Odyssey's success. The tension was suffocating, the silence within the command centers of the Allied ships thick with unspoken fears. Then a ripple, not a gravimetric distortion, but a subtle yet profound shift in the fabric of space itself. Across the void, where the architects of entropy were estimated to be propagating, the void whispers, which had served as their ominous warning for millennia, began to falter. The erratic pulses of energy, once consistent, became even more chaotic, then slowly, agonizingly began to fade. A cheer, muted but heartfelt, erupted across the Allied fleet. It was working. The humans' pattern disruption was having an effect. Moments later, a faint, flickering energy signature appeared on the long-range scanners. The Odyssey. It was far, but it was there, and its energy signature was fluctuating wildly, a testament to the immense strain it had endured. Incoming transmission from the Odyssey, a Zalosian sensor officer announced, his voice trembling with relief. Captain Thorne's face, etched with exhaustion but alight with triumph, appeared on the main display. High Elder, it worked. The resonant frequency propa. Gated, we saw it, the architect's network. It shattered, temporarily at least. Their advance has halted, their stellar consumption has ceased. They are dormant for now. A wave of profound relief washed over T.A. Chanier and the assembled commanders. Dormant. Not destroyed, perhaps, but neutralized. The galaxy had been granted a reprieve. Captain Thorne, T.A. Chanier began, his voice thick with emotion. You have achieved the impossible. You have saved us all. Thorne offered a weary smile. High Elder, it was a collective effort. The hegemony's resources, the Cathar's materials, the Fthar's computational power, we simply provided the catalyst. The Odyssey is severely damaged, but we will return. And return they did. The Odyssey, battered but victorious, limped back to the galactic rim, a symbol of unity and survival. Its journey back was slow, powered by emergency systems, its once terrifying energy output now reduced to a mere flicker. But it carried within its hull not just a crew of exhausted humans, but the profound truth that the galaxy had been given a second chance. In the aftermath, the nature of the galactic order irrevocably changed. The hegemony, humbled and forever altered by the existential threat and the unexpected salvation, established a new interspecies council, with humanity as its co-founder. The old territorial disputes, the petty squabbles, faded into insignificance in the face of the cosmic threat that still lay dormant beyond the rim. Humanity, once relegated to scraps and considered a nascent curiosity, became a respected, even revered member of the galactic community. Their unique approach to problem-solving, their relentless optimism in the face of adversity, and their profound capacity for innovation became the bedrock of a new era of cooperation and exploration. The Odyssey itself was enshrined, not as a weapon, but as a monument to ingenuity and resilience, a testament to what a species could achieve when driven by the will to survive and the desire to protect. Years passed. The Alliance flourished, fueled by the shared experience of near extinction. Technologies were exchanged, cultures intermingled, and the galaxy embarked on an unprecedented era of scientific discovery and mutual understanding. The architects of entropy remained dormant, a chilling reminder of the fragility of existence, but their threat had fostered an unbreakable bond between species. Then one cycle a new anomaly appeared, not a threat but a signal. It was faint, even more distant than the void whispers, emanating from the absolute deepest reaches of the intergalactic void, far beyond even where the architects had lain dormant. This signal was different. It was not a warning. It was a single, repeating, highly complex mathematical construct, interwoven with what appeared to be an intricate, universal melody. It was an invitation. The newly formed Interstellar Alliance, with Captain Thorne now serving as its human co-chair, analyzed the signal for many cycles. It defied all known linguistic and scientific protocols. It was an enigma, pure and unadulterated. During a joint session of the Alliance Council, High Elder T.A. Chanier projected the signal's patterns. "We have exhausted all our computational resources. We cannot decipher its origin, its purpose, or its meaning. It is unlike anything we have ever encountered." Captain Thorne, his gaze distant, his blue eyes holding that familiar spark of human curiosity, studied the patterns. "It is beautiful," he murmured almost to himself, "and profoundly complex. It speaks of something beyond our current understanding, something ancient perhaps, or something entirely new." Commander Vance, now a respected Alliance deep space exploration specialist, spoke, her voice reflective. "High Elder, we humanity have always been drawn to the unknown, to the whispers of the void, to the challenges that seem insurmountable. This signal, it feels like the next great leap." T.A. Chanier looked at Thorne, then at Vance, a slow, knowing understanding dawning in his multifaceted eyes. He had seen this drive before, this relentless push into the unknown, born from a species that had forged miracles from scraps. "Captain Thorne," T.A. Chanier said, his voice imbued with a new sense of wonder, devoid of all past fear. "Do you believe this signal is another mystery for humanity to unravel, another challenge for you to overcome?" Thorne smiled, a genuine, open smile that lit up his features. "High Elder, humanity has a saying, the universe is always bigger than you think. We were given scraps and we built a ship to save a galaxy. Now the galaxy itself is offering us another scrap, another challenge, another mystery to unravel, and we, all of us together, are ready to answer the call. Whatever lies beyond this signal, whatever new frontier it reveals, we will face it, because that is what we do. We explore. We adapt, we learn, and we survive." The holographic projectio, and of the enigmatic signal shimmered, pulsating with an untold promise, a new frontier beckoning from the deepest reaches of the cosmos. And as the Allied Council watched, their eyes filled with a shared sense of wonder and anticipation, they knew that with humanity by their side, the universe in all its terrifying and wondrous vastness was now truly open for exploration. The scraps had not just built a ship, they had forged a destiny that had just begun.